Hey there, and welcome to Extra Healthyish. This is the big sister podcast to the one called, you guessed it, Just Healthyish. This is a new podcast from Body & Soul that gives you that little bit extra in your day for your mind, body and soul. I am your host, Felicity Harley. Now, on the interview today, we have got Mel Wilson. She's chatting to me via Zoom. Actually, she was a few suburbs away, and she's co-host of another fabulous podcast called The Juggling Act. She does that alongside Jules Robinson. Mel is also the executive editor of kidspot.com.au. She's a single mum to 2 kids and, well, lockdown. We're talking about how she survived lockdown, and it hasn't actually been the shit show that she thought it would have been, because she's adopted this self-care mentality. For someone who was never into it a couple of years ago, is now a big advocate of caring for yourself and nourishing your own health and well-being. Mel, thank you so much for coming on Extra Healthyish. Now, I actually ask this question for everyone who comes on this podcast. How do you stay extra healthyish in your life? And you can't say running, which we just spoke about on Healthyish. You need to say something else.
Oh my God, I don't know if I am extra.
Oh, okay. Say running.
Oh, do you know what? I have actually started buying, this is probably really bad, but the pre-packaged delivered meals.
Oh, there's nothing wrong with that.
Do you know why? Because I'm vegetarian and my kids are not, and I'm not vegetarian for ethical reasons. Actually, my body just doesn't seem to like meat and eggs right from when I was a toddler. And it is a pain in the ass having to cook 2 different meals every single night. And I found that I was either just eating their leftovers and scraps or having crackers and cheese with a glass of wine, which is basically the opposite of healthy-ish. And then a friend got me onto these meals. I guess I can say it. They're not sponsored in any way, but they're chef good because they had a really good vegetarian range. And I actually realised the other day that I've been using them for a year. And it is the one thing that has been making me eat better. I only have them for dinners, but it's meant that I'm not just shoving whatever in my mouth because it's left over on the kids' plates, but I'm actually getting at least one nutritious meal a day. So that's probably my sort of attempt at trying to remain healthy-ish.
No, I think that's a great idea, because often when, if someone wants to go plant-based and they are cooking meals for other people in the household, and the other person, you can end up cooking 3 meals a day, and then you just think, 3 meals for dinner.
Well, if you've got little kids.
And you think, but hang on, I'm not eating. Like, what's going on?
And I think that's it. I actually also started intermittent fasting about 18 months ago. And so I make sure that I have some almonds or some fruit once I've, gone for a run in the morning, and then do that around 11 o'clock, and then I'll have a wrap or something, some salad for lunch. But then, at least I'm making sure that I'm getting that really nutritious meal in the evening that's making sure that I'm getting the proteins and iron and the other things that I can quite often lack in. And actually doing IF meant that my B12 had dropped off, which I didn't even think about because I don't eat fish and I don't eat eggs. And so suddenly I was missing out on the B12 from the cereal that I used to have every morning and from the dairy. So I have to be really careful being vegetarian to make sure that I am getting all of the different nutrients that I need. Otherwise, I just feel like I've been hit by a truck. It's so tired.
Yeah, and you're right. You've got to work out what works for you and what works for your body. And I think, often we get sold so many different ways to eat and styles, and I think it's worth trying things, but then you've got to work out what works for your body and then what you're lacking in and whatever that may be. Now, let's talk about, I suppose that's a form of self-care in lockdown, but I want to talk about how you've kind of learnt to love self-care. I mean, I could have said the word self-care to you a couple of years ago and you would have just won, what? Whatever.
Yeah.
But you've come to love it. But firstly, paint us a picture. What does your daily life look like in lockdown?
Look, I have to say I've been really lucky that the kids are still going to school as a single parent and an essential worker being a journalist, and I don't have any family here. So I absolutely take my hat off to any parent out there who is juggling work and homeschooling, because I have done it a few days on and off, and it was so incredibly difficult. So I am super, super grateful to the teachers and all of the support staff at the school who have allowed me to still be able to send the kids. So I'm lucky in that sense that we'll get up in the morning, get the kids breakfast, probably yell at them to try and find their shoes and turn some form of screen off that they've found while I'm in the shower, and get them to school. Then I'll go for a run and come back and get stuck into my work from home day. I think about what I'm going to prepare the kids for dinner, and that is about it. That is my life right at the minute. But on the weekends, we always try and go out and bike ride with the kids or go to the playground. I'm so grateful that my youngest has just learnt to ride a bike without trainer wheels. It has been a game changer because now I can run and they can ride their bike, which is great. And they whinge the whole way, which is super fun. So that makes my rage run even more ragey. And then every second weekend, the kids are with their dad. So at the moment during lockdown, where really all you can do is exercise, it's just been a lot of walking and running, and just recently playing a bit more tennis. But it's been really good. I really liked slowing down. I never thought I would. I'm quite extroverted and I like being really social and seeing people, and I do really miss that. But now that this has been going on for quite a few months and we're not rushing around to organise sport and birthday parties and having to cram the calendar and see people, I've really benefited, I think, from taking a step back and just enjoying a slower pace and my kids and not rushing from one thing to the next. And I think in a way that's been a form of self-care, just kind of making us all reset and reevaluate what's important to us and who's important to us and how we interact, and particularly how we interact as a family in our households. And I hope, as much as I'm desperate to get out and see people and have like a long lunch and a rosé, I do hope that we can take some elements of what we've learnt through that and move forward with that when things do open up and everything starts getting crazy and hectic again.
Now, I mean, you're, as exec editor of Kids Spot, you've obviously had a really cathartic experience in lockdown, perhaps is how you could call it. You're across what mums are thinking and feeling. What's going on out there? I feel like for, lots of people who have had cathartic experiences, there are equally, if not more, people who have struggled. Yep. How are we all going?
Oh, so many people are struggling. I even see it in my colleagues and team members over Zoom, and the people that are trying to homeschool, I think particularly younger kids. I really feel for, I think the ones with babies you can kind of manage. I know a lot of people who have had babies during lockdown have actually said it's been quite nice because they've just been in that little bubble and it's been just lovely to enjoy that new stage of their life. I think people with kids between 2 and 5 who aren't at school yet and potentially not going to daycare anymore, missing out on those swimming classes or baby rhyme time or going to the library or play dates. That age, I think, has been a real struggle for mums and for parents throughout lockdown, but also those younger years of school. So my son's in kindergarten, or preps, the first year of school. And the days that I have homeschooled him, he needs a lot of hand-holding, and that is a lot. My daughter's in grade 3, so she's much more self-sufficient. So I think as they get a little bit older, it hasn't been as bad. But women are struggling, and I think their work is taking a back seat. And I know a lot of people, thankfully, have really supportive employers who have been allowing them to do flexible hours. But I'm seeing women having to choose family over work, and I really worry about the long-term impact that is going to have on really high-achieving women who have big jobs and who are used to challenging themselves throughout the day and really being kind of someone at work, I guess, but having to take that step back and go, I need to prioritise my family right now, because I think initially we sort of saw workplaces being flexible in terms of men and women being given that flexibility. I feel like this year, I don't know about you, Fliss, but I almost think that's dropped off again. It looked like we were on the cusp of things changing and people realising how much women and mothers did and the mental load that they took on, and then men or other partners were back in the household going, whoa, this is a lot. I can't believe that you have been juggling all of this. And I think the longer this has been going on, we've kind of gone backwards a bit. And, you know, I'm reading a lot of studies about women who have had to perhaps give up a couple of days at work or give up work completely. And then that feeds back into what I know a lot of financial experts call the maternity gap in your superannuation and in your pay. And there's a lot of evidence to show that when you break up your work experience, that the impact that that has on your pay further down the track and what your value is and your super. Like I've had 2 kids, for example, that's 2 years of gap in my superannuation that I'm now behind a man who is in the same boat as me, as well as that you know, the gender pay gap that we're already facing. And I'm reaching an age now, you know, in my 40s where I look at my superannuation and I have like a slight panic attack and go, have I got enough to actually live on when I retire, which is looming closer and closer and which is terrifying. So I do really worry about women who are struggling mentally, emotionally and physically, trying to do all of the things at the moment. It is just not possible. But the long-term impacts, I think, are going to be quite scary as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think you've said it there in a nutshell, haven't you? I mean, I've come across studies where, in fact, women are going backwards. You know, feminists are questioning whether all these gains we made in, you know, the gender gap, in the housework gap, in whatever gap it may be between men and women are actually going back. Because women, I don't know, from personal experience, you just think, oh, I just can't be bothered. I'm exhausted. It's not worth
something
it.
Has to
I'd
give.
rather put that, say no to work or you know, cut back or whatever. And, you know, if I can, and women have lost their jobs. A high proportion of women have lost their jobs. We're more women in casual workforce. I do agree with you. I think the fallout is going to be astronomical down the track. But at the moment, we're all just trying to hang on to whatever job we have, whatever it may be. So how have you learnt, you know, to focus on yourself, I suppose, during this time, and how to put your self-care first, putting all that aside?
I think it's been tough. Like you said, everyone's just getting by. And I think it's taken me a while. I went through a really bad phase a few months ago, and I loved that article that was written about languishing. I think it might have been in the New York Times. I felt like I'd found my word. Someone had just described.
Yeah, thanks to Adam Grant. That was a psychologist called Adam Grant.
Amazing. It was just the word of the moment, and I felt seen. And it was amazing the power that it had to just put a label on it to make it okay. And I think that kind of gave me the mental permission to go, what you're feeling right now is justified and it's totally fine, and don't beat yourself up over it. I think particularly being a high achieving type A sort of personality who is used to going 100 miles an hour and not sitting still and needing to achieve the next goal and achieve the next goal, it has taken me almost the whole of this pandemic, and it's only been the last few months that I've realised that right now it's okay to not be doing that. And I think that's my form of self-care, allowing myself to go, you know what, use this period to slow down, not have to tick 1,000 things off your to-do list and work out what the next goal is and work out where you're going next, and just enjoy as much as you can, because obviously it's not a very nice stage that we're living in at the moment, but try to make the most of the slower pace and just cut yourself a bit of slack, because I have been working really hard since I left university when I was 21, and maybe now it's kind of okay just to take a little bit of a breath and reset and reevaluate what's important, maybe where I'm going with my career and what it is that I want to do. And I've seen a lot of people doing that, pivoting, the word of the pandemic, but giving up careers and trying something new and starting a business. And I think that's what's happened. A lot of us have sort of gone, oh, hold up, now that I've got a little bit of time to stop and think about things, is this actually what I want from the rest of my life? So I think that's the key, is just to be kind to yourself. And some great advice I got from a psychologist was, whatever emotion that you are feeling, don't block it out. Allow it to come on, whether it is feeling like you're languishing or you're anxious or you're sad or you're happy. But allow yourself to feel it. Recognize where in your body you're feeling it and what it feels like. Accept it. Let yourself feel it for as long as you need to. and then let it go again until it comes back. And I know it does sound a little bit woo-woo, and I don't necessarily subscribe to that sort of stuff, but it's really helped me, I think, over the last 2 years to be kind to myself, I think, is probably the biggest thing that I've learned.
I don't think it's woo-woo at all. I think it's something that we're only just learning and discovering how to actually feel our emotions, and it's just being human.
It's powerful.
And we're only, and I think in some ways the pandemic has made us all realize that we are human and we do feel this. We do feel, rage, we feel anger, we feel things are out of our control. And I think, that's a wonderful way that you've just said it, to feel it and let it go. What are you most looking forward to when we come out, when restrictions are lifting? You're in Sydney, you're only a couple of suburbs away. It's not long, Freedom Day, or we can't call it that, can we? What are you looking forward to when we come out?
Well, I made a hairdresser appointment yesterday and I am super excited about that. My root's terrifying. My daughter asked me last night whether it's true that every time your kids are unkind to you, you get a grey hair. And I said, oh, am I going grey? And then I started to worry that I was getting white hair. And then she's like, no, just say yes. And I went, okay, yes, that's true. And then she goes, so what did you do to Nanny? I went, I just got entrapped by my 9-year-old daughter. But I'm super excited about going to my hairdresser. The appointment is on a Monday and I don't even care that I'm going nowhere afterwards. I just need it cut and coloured to just feel like myself again. All of my family is in Victoria. I haven't seen them. I don't even know when I saw my siblings last. I think it's been more than 2 years, 2.5 years. So we have flights booked home to Victoria for Christmas, and I'm really hoping that we will be able to get those so that I can squeeze my family. But just also to see my friends that have been out of my 5K radius and just have a gorgeous long lunch and a laugh and celebrate the fact that we all got through this. Because when I stop and think about everything that we've been through for the last 2 years, I don't know about you, but it almost feels too big. Like I can't process what it is that we've actually gone through. And I really hope that this is kind of our form of a world war in a way. Like, this is what we're fighting. And I really hope for our children's sake and this next generation that this is it for the rest of their lifetime. And one day, when we're old and on our rocking chair, we can look back and go, how wild was it that we had to wear masks every time we left the house and get these tests where they stuck something up our noses? And, my 6-year-old son asked me the other day, Mummy, how long were you in lockdown for when you were a kid? It's such a weird thing for all of us to process.
Wow. Yes.
Yeah. So.
But I think you're right. I mean, I think, those simple things of going to the hairdressers or going out for lunch are just the things that perhaps we used to take for granted, but now we'll truly appreciate. Mel, thank you so much for coming on Extra Healthy-ish.
Thanks for having me.
What a great chat with Mel. I hope the wisdom that she has come across, that she has learned, inspires you to be kinder on yourself and really feel those emotions and know that we're all in this together. Remember, Mel is the co-host of the Juggling Act. That is out on Mondays, Wednesdays and Fridays. And her and her co-host, Jules Robinson, open up about the parenting and work challenges they're facing. If you want another great podcast, make sure you download either Healthy-ish or other episodes of Extra Healthy-ish. This podcast, we publish new episodes of this one every morning, Monday to Thursday. If you want more info, head to bodyandsoul.com.au or jump online on Instagram or Facebook. Thanks again for listening. And if you have a moment, we'd be so grateful if you could jump on and rate, review and subscribe to this episode. And until tomorrow, stay extra healthy-ish.